If I asked you, what is the biggest fear that sailors have? You'd probably answer me with something like storms, high winds, UFOs, that is, not the alien kind, the unidentified floating object kind. I think most people would say storms, and you'd be partly right, but not because of the wind. What actually breaks you is the waves. It's the 2,000 gallons of water weighing 16,000 pounds. That's like an F-450 hitting you at 15 miles an hour, right in the side of your boat. Boom! That's what kills sailors. See, almost any boat can handle high winds, but the waves and the sea, that's what wears you down. That's what makes it so you can't sleep, you're exhausted, you can't keep your eyes open anymore, and you screw up. That's when the boat broaches or even rolls over and rips the mast off. The real killer in a storm is fatigue. Fatigue from the waves. And even if the wave state's not bad enough to turn the boat all the way over, it's that primary and secondary working against each other and sometimes tertiary swell. That's what makes people sick. Waves travel far. And if there's a storm 1,000 miles away, you're literally going to feel the ripples from that storm as waves. And we call this secondary and tertiary swell. And the worst part of this is these don't show up on a wind map. But now, for the first time, we can see all of this in detail live from our sailboats. Today, we're going to talk about how to find this information and how to use it to keep you, your crew, and your family safe at sea. Whether you're day sailing or crossing the Pacific, the skills are the same. Stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give you 3 secret weapons that I use every time I take my boat out. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, my name is James. I'm a professional sailor, videographer. Let's just call it what it is. I'm a YouTuber and a delivery captain. I've got about 85,000 miles at sea. And if I had to pick one thing that changed sailing the most in the last 25 years, it is modern weather routing, hands down. The ability to see into the future for just a few days has been such a gift. It's completely changed the way the modern sailor goes out to sea and plans his passage. This video is your introduction to modern weather routing. We're going to go over what it is, how it works, how we use those forecasts, and why most sailors are focused on the wrong variables. Finally, we're going to put all that information together, and then we're going to plan an ocean crossing across the Atlantic. Again, at the end of the video, I've got some really cool tips to give you. So if you're bored already, skip to the end. Don't miss that part. You could just skip all this stuff, but then you miss learning. I like learning. This is why I like sailing. I love learning, and this is cool information. I promise you'll like it. Give me 2 minutes, and then skip. Okay, so weather routing is not magic. It's just a computer algorithm. You guys probably understand already that a supercomputer takes a snapshot of what's happening now, feeds it into a simulation, and it spits out what it thinks will happen based on physics and historical data. So if a low pressure system is moving this fast and the sea temperature is X and the atmosphere is behaving like it did during a similar event, the model says, okay, that storm is probably going to curve this way, deepen, and it'll just turn into a mess by Tuesday. It's the same kind of algorithm that YouTube uses to suggest this video to you. So it takes your search history and the videos you've watched in the past, and it says this person is likely to watch this video, so we're going to suggest it to him. Or maybe Google's listening to your phone in your pocket, and you were talking about the weather this morning. Now you're watching me. Who knows? So these algorithms, they're super smart computer programs, but what they need is the set of data to base that prediction on. They need a point of origin. So this is where the weather data providers come in. The weather data providers use satellites, radar, planes, balloons, buoys, and other instruments to measure what's happening in the world now. These are the people who own the measuring devices, like the NWS, NOAA, SPIRE. They're big companies. They have a lot of, they're collecting thousands and thousands of different points of data. So in the big picture, these companies sell, or sometimes they give it away for free, this data, and then the companies that own the algorithms use those algorithm supercomputers on the data, crunch it all, and spit out a weather model. And then they sell that weather model as some kind of subscription service. But as you can imagine, they're super expensive. I mean, these weather models can be $100,000 a year to be a part of, depending on how much data you need. So this is where the game-changing part comes in for us sailors. There's companies like Windy and PredictWind that they subscribe to a bunch of different ones, and they buy the data sets and use their own algorithms on that. And then they spit out and give us 6 or 8 or 10 different models that we can look at and bounce it against. And all we have to pay is one small subscription. So their business model is selling smaller, more affordable subscriptions to more people. What's really cool about this is you can do things now, today, from your sailboat that weren't even available to TV meteorologists 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, really. Now, when you add in AI, things get really crazy because the AI can take all of those models at the same time, see what they're doing, and give you a graphical representation of your nominal weather routing for your sailboat. The sailboat does this angle at this speed. It's going to go this fast. The storm's moving here. So it'll route you around storms. It'll route you around islands. It's insane. It's really, really cool. It's like cheating at sailing. You may have heard a sailor say something like, oh, I don't like GFS. ECMWF is my go-to guy. I trust them and no one else. That's a very sailor-y thing to say. But what are they talking about? Now we're going to talk about what all the models are, where they come from, and how the algorithm works, and what they're good for. So for this video, we're going to cover 6 models, 6 models. And these are the ones that I use personally when I'm out to sea. So the first is the Global Forecast System. It's a US model. It's free, it's fast, it's global, and it's updated 4 times a day. This one's really good at wind forecasting, not so good at wave forecasting, and it often underestimates the secondary swell. This one is like the Honda Civic of models. It's everywhere, it's reliable, it's predictable, but you're not going to get sports car precision from this thing. So when you go down into the lower zoom levels, not so good. The second one is the ECMWF, which stands for the European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts. This is a paid model. It's known for its accuracy. This is the gold standard for modeling, for weather modeling. This has longer range prediction and smoother gradients. I think this one goes out to 14 days now, which is super cool. It's like anybody's guess at that point, but it's pretty neat that it does. So if GFS is a Civic, ECMWF is more like a AMG Mercedes blacked out. It's sexy, it's expensive, and it's usually right. And this one's the one that sailors mostly use. The third one we're going to cover is SPIRE. So SPIRE is relatively new, and it's based on mariners. It's based on the marine industry, and what it is 140 about. They're launching more satellites all the time, but there's 140 satellites. They're about the size of a laptop, and they are orbiting the Earth, and the cool part about SPIRE is they can measure the entire atmosphere. So before, in other data sets, they have hydrophones on buoys, and they can measure sea level, what's going on, what's the wave height, what's the pressure, but they can't get into the troposphere and the ionosphere and all the other spheres of the atmosphere. These ones can see all of it. So it's a really cool device, and we're going to talk about it again later on in this video because it does another cool thing. So this one's really good for spot forecasting or like hyper-local swell. It's especially good near coasts and smaller islands, but for long-range forecasting, SPIRE, the algorithm just really isn't the best for out to sea. So GFS is the Civic, ECMWF is the AMG. SPIRE is not even a car, it's more like a nerd with a satellite. It doesn't look too far into the future, but it knows exactly what's happening where you're at right there. Okay, the fourth one is UKMO. I call it UKMO. I don't know if anybody else does. It's the UKMO. It's the United Kingdom Meteorological Office. I'll get that one day. This is the more conservative model. It's very good for the North Atlantic, obviously, because it's from the UK. This model is better at storm path prediction than it is at sea state. This is like the British butler of models. It's polite, it's careful, doesn't like to overpromise, but good to bounce against. And the last two models are the PWE and PWG models. These are PredictWind's proprietary models. They buy the data sets from GFS and ECMWF, and then they load both of those data sets into the same algorithm, and then that spits out these two models. And often they conflict. Think of the PWE and PWG as the local guides trained by the big models. So these are models used by racers for coastal races. And again, they're very good to bounce against. Not so great for offshore. Okay, so how do you put this all in practice? First of all, disclaimer, I am not sponsored by PredictWind. They're not paying me to do this video. Although, Nick, if you're watching, you probably should. They do give me a free pro account so I can share all this stuff with you guys and I can use it out to sea. And I choose PredictWind because a bunch of sailors run it. They have fantastic customer service. Every time I call them, they get back to me within a few hours. They're in New Zealand. And they're constantly innovating, adding features. And the way that I see it, I may be wrong, but it looks to me like PredictWind comes out with a feature and then it's copied by everybody else. Regardless, I'm pretty loyal to them and I really like their user interface, so those are my guys. So putting this into practice. So like I mentioned before, you can use AI to route your boat for you. Now let's pull up PredictWind and we'll see how this actually works. Okay, everybody, now this is PredictWind. This is the user interface for PredictWind. So you can see on this map, we're looking at the North Atlantic. Here's North America, South America, Africa, and Europe here. So we're gonna plan a trip together. We're going to go from the Chesapeake to the Azores. We're gonna say that our boat is ready to go right now and we're leaving in 4 hours. And then we're gonna see what all the different models say about our trip, whether or not we should go north or south or go faster or slower or possibly even wait for a couple days. That's all possible using AI weather routing. Let me show you. So we're going to go up to here. This is the Chesapeake. This is where we're going to leave from. We're going to go to weather routing, sail routing. We're going to put our green arrow on Annapolis, which is about right there. And then we're going to put our red arrow on Horta, which I already tried this once. So there's the anchorage in Horta right there. Okay, now we're going to do the start time as today. It's 4:26 at 1800. And then we're going to go route. All right, so now it's going to take 4 of our 6 models, and it's going to use those models to route our boat and show us what's going to happen, what's going to hit. It'll give us warnings. It takes a little while, but the cool part about this is it's available while you're offshore, even if you don't have Starlink. So all you got to do is just get a sat phone, and the modern sat phones aren't even phones at all. They're just antennas, and you hook your cell phone up to it, and through the cell phone, you can get all this data. You can download this data over the satellites. Same thing as Starlink, but a lot slower, and you can't get on the internet or anything. Okay, cool. Now here's our model. Now you can kind of tell already that you've got a bunch of warnings here. And then the models are all pretty much the same. As we come out of the Chesapeake, we go down, we turn left, we're going out. They differ a little bit here and here, but pretty much they all agree that there's going to be wind from the south and you should be on a beam reach until about here. And then they start to defer from each other. One says go left, one says go right. And now it's going to be, this is where the weather routing, as you get out into the weather forecast simulation, starts to differ because they're just different and nobody can see that far into the future. So let me show you what this looks like in a graphic representation. All the boats leave together, and each one of these little spots is a boat, and they're all going together, and then they start differing here. They are all pretty much on the same track, using the wind, motoring a little bit. Now it switches to pilot charts. They get back together and they all arrive at, well, different times, but they're all going to arrive there eventually. It looks like to some serious winds. So how can we use this information? The cool part about this is not only is it a graphic representation, but it shows you on tables what you're going to see. So check this out. Whoa. Now you're going to see, this is all the wind that's going to be forecasted for that trip. This is the wave direction. This is the true wind angle, the rain you're going to get, the CAPE, which is basically a measurement of how much of a chance there are for storms. The temperature, pressure, here we go. This is the number one thing, combined wave height. So when we leave, there's going to be 1 foot waves. When we get out of the Chesapeake, there's going to be 6 foot waves. In 3 days or 4 days, there's going to be 12 foot waves. That's going to be super uncomfortable. It might be better to wait a few days if we're going to see 12 foot waves out there, because everybody's going to get sick and you're going to be halfway to nowhere. You're going to be, 700 miles offshore by here. And then it's going to keep up 8 to 10 feet the rest of the trip. All right. Now it says direction, wave period. This is another one where if the wave period is really short, it's going to be a problem. Right now, everything is over 6 or 7 seconds. But if you can see right here, on April 30th, the waves are going to be at 6 seconds at, here we go, at 6 feet. Let's see, at 12 seconds on May 2nd, they're going to be 7 seconds at 12 feet. That is super uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable. Don't go. This is one of those ones where you're going to have to reroute. And you really wouldn't see this without the AI. You can go in and you can see the forecast for Swell. If you go into here and you say waves, here's the wave forecast. It's a different color. So as we move this along the time, the waves are affected by the storms, and you can see there's a big storm up here affecting the waves. There's 30-foot waves up here. But what we're interested in is on our route, how big are those waves going to be? And we're going to hit some pretty major waves right here. There's even a high seas gale forecast warning. So this is the GDMSS, I think, the Marine Forecasting System, warning system. So they've integrated that system because in the past, this system right here has been this humongously long email thing that's all the same print, and it's super hard to read, and it's for every area and the entire Atlantic. And now the AI just gives it to you in the pieces you need. So what do you do in this case? All right, I don't want to leave now. I want to leave later. There's another little service that they do. It's called departure planning. Okay, so we're going to go to sail planning, departure planning, same route. We're not going to change any of that route. Although I am going to move this just a bit because one of the models had a problem with it. So we're going to move that into the center. And then over here, we're going to say the start time is the same time, 1800. And then we're going to go every 12 hours and we're going to see, actually, I'll do 24 hours. We're going to do every 24 hours and we're going to see what happens. Okay. So that means this isn't going to take into account every single model. This is just going to take into account one model, but now I'm leaving today. And then we're going to leave tomorrow, and then we're going to leave the next day, and then we're going to leave the next day. 4 different trips, and we're going to see how big the wave state's going to get on those 4 trips. So let's see. This one takes a little longer. Fantastic, though, for modeling your trip. I mean, if you're not using this and you want to sail offshore, you absolutely have to know this program. I think that Windy has this too. I'm pretty sure they do. So if you like Windy or you like a different user interface, just make sure they have this on one of their levels and get that level before you go out to sea. It's well worth it. All right. So in this case, the track is red and we only get one model. And as we go down the list, there's one boat leaving, there's another boat leaving, there's another boat leaving, there's another boat leaving. And we're looking and it says, one of these routes, we're going to go a lot farther north. One of these routes has a bunch of warnings. This says roll and gust, so it's going to be super windy and super wavy on that route. This says roll and vertical acceleration, which this is a front. You see how the wind's coming here and over here. This is not a good thing to sail through, so I would imagine, let's see who's sailing through that. Oh, none of us. It misses all of these boats. So as long as we leave in the next 4 days, we're fine. But if we leave in 5 days or 6 days, then we have to deal with this front, which is going to roll over us. And that's going to be a big pain in the ass because there's usually right here, it says there's no wind. But usually when you get hit by a front, there's a lot of wind at first. So it can be dangerous. So anyway, that's how to do some departure planning. And more importantly than the visual determination is the tables. Now the tables will show you how much you need to motor. how much time you're going to be in 1 meter wave, 1 to 2 meter waves, 2 to 3 meter waves, 3 to 4 meter waves. So look, this is what we saw before. 6% of our time is going to be in 3 to 4 meter waves. Those are big waves. And on these other, the farther along we leave, the less chance of big waves we have to deal with. So actually, just by the wave state, I would say wait until the 29th. Wait until 4 days from now to leave. If you're going to go on an Atlantic crossing right now. If anybody's watching this and wants to cross the Atlantic, don't leave right now. Okay, so we've looked at how weather routing works, how wind and waves are forecasted, how the algorithms work, and we've put it into practice, and I've shown you how the AI models actually model. But really, this is not the be-all, end-all for weather routing. You got to know how to read a grid file. You need to know what happens in a front. Why does that happen? What's going to happen? You can be your own weather router. You don't need to pay someone if you understand all this stuff. And I've put a bunch of links to the weather classes that I used to learn about this in the description of the video. So if you'd like to go in there, you can see some of these are from MIT and some of the best weather routers in the world. And they're fabulous videos to get a more in-depth reach into why this happens. So now I want to talk to you about a couple of tools that are in PredictWind that nobody talks about that you should be using every time you take your boat out, whether you're doing beer can races or crossing the Atlantic. Okay, so the first is AIS data. So if you go down here to tools, there's one called AIS data right here. And this will show you all of the AIS on the entire planet. Right now, I'm not sure why it's not propagating. This is just all of the contacts that are in PredictWind. Usually it shows you thousands of contacts around the world, and you can see every boat. I mean, we used this in our crossing where we rescued 3 people off of a dismasted boat. We had been up here, and there was nobody sailing up here, and we used it to find that boat, even though it was like 200 miles away. Normally, you can only see about 30, I think I've seen contacts to about 65 miles on AIS, which is a long way for AIS. But this particular contact was 200 miles, and the only way we could see him was through this site, and we found him on AIS. The problem is it's not showing anybody. I'm not sure why. Right now, there's a little glitch. But anyway, you get the picture. This is invaluable. If you're making that same crossing and you're solo sailing, imagine that. You can see every single boat around you, well, that has AIS, but most boats do now. And you can say, okay, I've got 6 hours before I'm going to get close to another boat. I can take a nap right now. So you have your AIS alarm, but the AIS alarm is based on the antenna at the top of the mast that can only see 30 miles or 40 miles. And this way you can actually see what's really going on big picture. It's invaluable. Use it if it's working. Come on, PredictWind, help me out here. The second secret weapon that I use every time I sail is this. It's climate data. They call it climate data, but what it really is pilot charts. So just a quick explanation on what pilot charts are. Pilot charts have been around since the 18th century, and what it is they would take logs on tall ships and merchant ships, and those logs got converted into these charts with these wind maps. This is what they used to look like. And these wind maps would tell sailors, okay, most of the time the wind is coming from this direction. Some of the time it's from this direction, some of the time it's from this direction, very rarely it's from here. And when it's from here, it's not very strong. And that's kind of how to interpret these. It's just a wind rose. They were put out monthly, and they were based on all of these logs from ships from the last 200 years. Well, PredictWind changed the game again because these pilot charts are wind roses from actual ECMWF data from the last 10 years. So these are going to be more accurate as indicators of what's really going to happen and what most often happens. So if you were going to say you wanted to plan a trip across the Atlantic, next year, you would use this. It's a freaking cool system. And this is what the AI uses when it routes you outside of that algorithm's forecasting window. So then it just moves to the historical data, and basically this is a visual representation of that. Phenomenal. Absolutely recommend using this. It's a little hard to navigate, but just look up how to read a windrows and you'll get it. And the last thing is one of my favorite quiet features that came out in the last couple of years. This is a data hub. And the data hub, you plug into your NEMA connector, which is the backbone of all of your instruments on your sailboat, and they all talk to each other. Well, this one talks to all that and takes the data from your wind, takes the data from your speed log and from your GPS, and it uploads all that data to the PredictWind AI, and it can make you a custom polar for your boat. So depending on how conservatively you sail, how aggressively you sail, and it'll start spitting out even better results for all your weather routing, because now it knows, when the wind picks up over 30, you have 4 reefs in your main and you'd rather go slower than faster. So phenomenal thing. I know this sounds like a commercial. It's not. It's just one more tool to help you be a better captain and keep your crew safe. So if you'd like to go deeper onto this subject and just the subject of cruising, and you're the type of person that likes to have something they can hold, I'm launching a special pre-order for my book, Be the Captain. This is the manual that I wish that I had when I first started cruising. And the cover is inspired by an old copy of the Navy Blue Jackets manual that I had when I was on the submarine. If you don't know what that is, the Blue Jackets manual is the handbook that every enlisted sailor gets in the US Navy when they join. It's been around since like 1902, and it teaches you everything you need to know to not screw up. Seamanship, discipline, navigation, leadership, emergency drills, all of that stuff that actually matters while you're out to sea. Pre-orders are open now. I am limiting them to 500 copies because I actually have to fly home and sign and send all of these out. There's not a drop shipper that'll do that with this type of book. And these will be nice books. It's faux leather and embossed and gold foil lettering, and they'll be numbered. I will personally sign them and I'll send them out to you. And I'm very happy to be making this in my vision. They're going to cost me about $8 grand to print, which is crazy. And it's like 26 boxes that are going to be delivered to my dad's house. I have not told him yet. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this. I should probably call him. And then on top of that $8 grand, I've got to fly home. I got to pack all that stuff, the shipping, the credit card fees. There's a lot of like extra fees and stuff. So as a thank you for watching my videos and supporting me for this long, I am not going to try to gouge you on this and make a bunch of money on this. I am charging $60 for the book. There's only 500 of them. I don't want to be there for 3 weeks mailing these things out. Link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned to next week where we put this into practice and actually plan an entire crossing of the Atlantic. Peace, love.